For the first time ever, Chicago teachers will be staging a one-day walkout tomorrow. Their union wants to send a message not just to the school district, but to Springfield as well. This week, we spoke with parents of Chicago public school students about that one-day walkout.
I really think they should give the teachers what they want. I really do.
If it weren't for teachers, it wouldn't be anyone. Teachers, police officers, it wouldn't be anything. So I think they're underpaid.
That was the sentiment among most parents who were picking up their kids outside Wentworth Elementary in Chicago's Englewood neighborhood. On the city's north side, outside Blaine Elementary, families had mixed feelings about the teachers walking out.
I feel bad for the teachers. However, I think under contract during a school year, I would prefer that they didn't strike and they continued with their contract and they did the negotiations off-season.
Cullerton's daughter disagrees with her father. She is siding with the teachers.
We're seeing a mass privatization of public schools in Chicago and throughout the rest of the country. I think Rahm Emanuel is at fault here. I think Governor Rauner is at fault here. I absolutely support the union.
The school district calls the union action an illegal strike because it violates an agreed-upon set of procedures that must be followed before teachers can walk out. Under state law, the earliest teachers could hit the picket line is the middle of May. But the union insists the walkout is justified because of what it claims is an unfair labor practice, the elimination of what's called step and lane, a mechanism for awarding teacher pay raises based on education and experience. Not all teachers are on board with the strike, but few of them would agree to go on camera. One parent at Blaine worries students are caught in the middle.
It's frustrating. They say that they care about the kids, but and I know they have their most power to strike during the school year and take days off like that, but it really hurts the kids.
Other groups will be joining teachers for the one-day strike, including one called the Fight for $15, fast food workers linking their call for higher wages with school funding. The CTU says it's getting support from at least 50 other allied community groups and unions. The teachers' walkout is expected to start early Friday morning at CPS schools and conclude with a massive rally in the afternoon at the Thompson Center downtown.
They work hard. They're in school every day with our children. So why not give them what they want? They help us with our children. Well, they don't get at home, they get at school.
Joining us to talk more about the teacher strike and other topics, Sarah Karp, reporter for WBEZ Radio. Todd Belcour, Executive Director for the nonprofit organization Social Change, and David Vigiano, Media Relations Director for Alpatac Public Relations, and welcome everybody. So, Sarah, let me begin with you. What's the point of a strike that's just one day?
Well, that's a good question. And, they say that it's directed at Governor Rauner. And, while I see that their point in that, there's no budget, there's the revenue for schools that the mayor's been asking for has not come through from the state. There's lots of reasons not to be very happy with Governor Rauner. At the same time, I'm sort of concerned that Governor Rauner doesn't really care that much if Chicago public schools aren't in session. And I guess that wouldn't be a reason not to do it, but I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of members of the union are sort of questioning, why are we doing this? It's not like, so my question to the union that I've been asking is, so what would a win look like? Because usually you strike and then you can say, okay, this is what we want and this is what we've won. What would a win look like? And since the reason is so amorphous, it's sort of hard to tell what that win would be.
Is the win, Todd, is the win just more publicity for their cause? Is that what the objective is here, do you think?
I think that's an important objective to try to attain. I mean, the bottom line is you can't ignore the direct relationship between the fiscal and the pension crisis that we have in Illinois and Chicago and the need to have a strike. The schools are underfunded. 62 staff and teachers have been laid off. They're being asked to take a pay decrease and have less time with students. In a school structure that requires so much time with students, and we value the time that teachers have with students, it seems like it's reasonable for for teachers to band together and say enough is enough and try to make their point to the general audience who can then add to the pressure being put on Governor Rauner and Mayor Emanuel.
But David, you've got 330,000 students and their parents, of course, who are being affected by that. Is it worth it?
Is it worth it? I don't know. I agree. One day is only making a point. There's not going to be a win. I also think that if you're going to choose one day to try to make a point, I think it's, as a marketing person, it's a really silly thing to do on April 1st, because April Fool's Day is not the
That would be a
perfect day.
marketing point of view.
There you go, to have people take you seriously. But I do understand why they're doing it. I think it's really, really difficult, too, if they want to get public sentiment on their side. Doing this on a Friday during rush hour when it's going to rain, it's already a nightmare in Chicago. And I've seen it. I've seen it explode all over social media. People get really angry at these protests and the protesters. And it doesn't help their cause because all they see is disruption. So I think we have to really think about how we're going to go about making change and making our point.
I think David makes a good point, Sarah. I mean, can the teachers union count on the sympathy of the public here?
Yeah, I think a lot of people generally polling for the teachers is very high. People support their teachers. I mean, you know, everybody's had a teacher. Everybody has knows somebody who is a teacher. So I think it's very high. But I do think people can get a little bit tired of it. Now, on the other hand, a lot of people are being affected by the fact that the state has no budget. And a lot of people are, concerned about what's going on in the state of Illinois. I mean, look, we're losing population. There's a lot of troubles here. So in that sense, I think that people might have sympathy, not just for the teachers, but for the general cause of, the state. It feels like, there's a lot of trouble and people want something to happen and they want the governor and, the state legislature to get off their butts and get a budget and move the state forward.
But CPS is saying, Todd, that this is an illegal strike. Should that give the teachers some pause, that it's against the law, according to CPS?
Well, I think there's a counter-argument to that clearly the teachers agree with, that there's a violation of the contract that allows them the opportunity to make this sort of effort in the first place. And I think it's important not to disregard that the teachers have been actively engaging in negotiations for a period of time, have undertaken the fact-finding process, and throughout that entire process, not enough was done to make sure that the teachers and the education for our students was secured properly.
I also think, what the definition of illegal strike. I mean, it's one thing that Karen Lewis will say in response to that. Karen Lewis, being the CTU president, was what Rosa Parks did legal?
So civil disobedience.
Civil disobedience is not always legal. And then what is really the repercussion? I mean, Chicago Public Schools could go to court and say, okay, we don't want them to strike, but they can't what are they going to do? Lock the teachers in the classrooms, lock the teachers in the schools? I mean, what is really, now they're not going to pay teachers who don't come to work on Friday, and I think teachers are, willing to take that loss. Some are, and so, I mean, that's really the only leverage they have. I mean, what can really happen? I mean,
David.
I do agree that their public sentiment is on the teacher's side, but I think that especially how it's portrayed in the media, they have to be very careful because they're looking at things like the teachers only, we hear a lot about how the teachers only put 2% into their pension and the government and our taxes have to take care of the rest. And the teachers are asking for a tax hike from Governor Rauner so they can help pay their salary. And I think those kind of things don't play well for the teachers. And I think that if they're willing and they're vocal about wanting to compromise a little bit more, I think that more sentiment and maybe we'll make some room for some change.